I want to let you know that we here at MD Coaches are very proud to announce our newest offering, Group Coaching for Physicians. This is a small, virtual, and confidential cohort that will inspire participants to rediscover personal and professional fulfillment. The cohort begins on Tuesday, July 26th, and runs until August 30th. And you can earn one CME credit per session, totaling 6 credits in all. To learn more and to register, please visit www.mdcoaches.store. Space is limited, so be sure to register today.
There's all these things that are happening that essentially take our autonomy away from us. I did not feel like medicine was going in the right direction.
Paging Dr. Cook. Paging Dr. Cook. Dr. Cook, you're wanted in the OR. Dr. Cook, you're wanted in the OR.
Welcome to the Prescription for Success podcast with your host, Dr. Randy Cook.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Prescription for Success. I'm Dr. Randy Cook, your host for the podcast, which is a production of MD Coaches, providing leadership and executive coaching for physicians by physicians. To overcome burnout, transition your career, develop as a leader, or whatever your goal might be, visit MD Coaches on the web at mymdcoaches.com because you're not in this alone. And don't forget, CME credit is available when you listen with us. Just look for CMify in the show notes to learn how. My guest today is a family physician who recognized early in her career that work-life balance was easier said than done. And that prompted her to come up with some remarkably realistic solutions. So let's hear Dr. Lara Hochman tell her story. And I'm really excited today to be having a conversation with Dr. Lara Hochman, you're out in the Austin, Texas area. Am I right about that, Lara?
Yeehaw, in Texas.
Okay, that says it. We know that you're the real deal. And looking forward to the conversation with you today. You've got some really unique ideas about how to make life as a physician better. And I'm looking forward to hearing about all of that. But as we always do, I want to hear something about your beginnings. Can you tell us where your interest in medicine had its beginning? Were there family members who were in it, or did you come to it all on your own? Just what was the story?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I had a couple of uncles who were physicians, and one in particular, he was everything a kid liked in an adult. He was fun and funny, and so he was a doctor. So that's kind of where I got my idea of I want to be just like him. And so, that's kind of where the idea started to form. And, on career day at school, I would dress up as a doctor. So I probably brainwashed myself a little bit as I was growing up that I was going to be a doctor. And I really, really do enjoy biology and learning about the body and all of that. So it was just kind of a natural segue. I enjoy caring for people. And, I went to college. So I grew up in South Africa. In South Africa,
I was going to ask you. I thought I caught a touch of an accent.
Yeah, it comes and goes.
South Africa, yeah.
So in South Africa, after high school, you go straight to medical school. There's no in-between college. And so I really had a little bit of a hard time understanding the American system where you don't go to college. I mean, you don't go to medical school straight from high school. So I went into college with the idea of I'm going to be a doctor, and I kind of geared everything towards that. And I had an idea, trying to be think like an American, like, oh, I should use college to really explore other things. And I kind of did, but really only half-heartedly. And so was very single track minded. I tend to be very stubborn, and I had told myself I was going to be a doctor. And so I became a doctor.
And when did, I really apologize for interrupting you, but when did you come to this country?
After high school.
Okay, so you were in your late teens when you began to adjust to this American system of education, and so I apologize for the interruption, but take it up from that point.
So, yeah, that's how I decided to go into medicine. I really loved surgery. So, I went to medical school with the idea that I was going to be a surgeon. I did. And, while I was there, this is before social media became as big as it is now. And so I didn't have the large network that I do now. And I couldn't find a female surgeon that had the family balance and the work-life balance that I was looking for in a career.
Of course you couldn't.
And so I changed my mind because of that and
Yeah.
ended up going into family medicine. But, I often think how my trajectory would have been different because I would have gone into ENT instead of family medicine. But
Did you like medical school?
I loved medical school.
And when you got there, did you really feel like, man, I'm in the right place?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was hard, but it was definitely right. Yeah.
Was there anything really terrible about it at all?
The volume of what you have to study was just horrific. It was so much studying all the time and everything that led to, which is, a complete lack of balance. I mean, I missed weddings and I missed holidays and all sorts of events because, I think I missed the birth of someone. I mean, like big things because there's so much. But yeah, I loved it. I loved the camaraderie. I went to medical school in Galveston, which is a small island, and we all knew each other. And it was like living on the set of Friends. I left my front door unlocked, and my friends would just come and go as they, if they were in the area. So I really liked it. I loved the people I was with. I found the material fascinating. I love learning about the body, and it's cool to learn to really help people and really be a part of people's lives in that very intimate way.
And about how far along in medical school were you when you made this decision that it was going to be family medicine?
Halfway through interview season.
Interview
for residency.
For residency, okay.
So I applied to ENT. I applied to family medicine. Family medicine was my backup because I really liked it. And I was like, well, if I don't get into, ENT is more competitive.
Wow. So you were actually making applications in different fields of practice at that point.
Yeah, I did. And so
that's interesting.
I had an idea already by the time I sent the application in what I was thinking. And so I had scheduled all of my ENT applications for the very end of interview season. And then I made up my mind and I canceled the interviews.
Oh, I see. So you didn't follow through with the complete application.
Yeah, exactly. So I got up until scheduling interviews and then I canceled them.
And when you got in residency, did it seem like you had really found exactly where you wanted to be, or were there any disappointments? What was that like?
There were parts of it that I loved. I picked a residency specifically for the people that I felt that I identified with, and I absolutely loved the people in my program. I was in a great city. I picked a procedure-heavy program because I, still had that love of procedures. So I did learn a lot of procedures. And I really enjoyed getting to know the patient very, very much. I mean, I think that's absolutely by far my favorite thing about medicine.
And
but
was that located in Galveston as well?
No, that was in Denver, Colorado.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. That's quite a change.
Yeah. But yeah, I did feel like there was, that's okay. I feel like I felt when I was there that there was maybe something else as well that I wanted to do, maybe more specialized or more, something. I didn't know what it was. But I still loved family medicine. And I think, after I graduated residency and joined practice, I think what I just realized is I absolutely loved the relationships that I was able to form with my patients, so much so that I didn't feel like there was ever anything else I needed to be doing, and medically speaking.
Well, tell us about that first year after you finished residency. What was that like?
The first year, so my husband was finishing up his residency in psychiatry. So that's 4 years.
Also
where
in Denver?
family medicine is 3. Mm-hmm. So
Okay.
I spent the year doing locum tenens for the hospital system that I completed my residency in. So I already was familiar with the EMR and I was familiar with the system and how they worked. And so I locumed at all the different practices around town, which I really,
That's
really
pretty
liked.
smart.
Oh, it was wonderful. I loved it. I got to, see all different practice settings, see what worked, see what didn't work. I got to, meet all different
What a
interesting
great idea.
people. And I got to make my own schedule. I mean, if I didn't want to work one day because I wanted to spend the day with my kid, no big deal. I did that. So that was a really, really fun year. It was definitely scary to be out on my own. And there were days when I would call, the attending precepting room and say, "Hey, can I just run this patient by you?" Because most of the time I was solo. Or, I had a patient who I still had a very close relationship with all the specialists and all the ER doctors from the system. So I would call them and say, every now and then I remember calling an ER doctor once and saying, "Hey, doctor, so-and-so, I have this patient and you saw her and I just wanted to see this is what I'm thinking. Does that make sense? Because, you didn't find anything." And so I enjoyed it. Like I was very fortunate to have a good relationship with all the doctors in town. And I was really able to just kind of get my own footing and feel more comfortable being on my own actually after residency.
It sounds very much like what I think, anyway, that medicine is supposed to be like. We are actually called upon in the Hippocratic Oath to teach one another, to share with each other. And it sounds like during those first years, that's exactly what you had.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't agree more. I think as a group, we're stronger and better. We can be better for our patients. We can be better for ourselves and our families. I think, physicians should be collaborating and working together. And it makes everything better.
A period of locums. And then did you ever try to establish yourself with a group where you were going to be for a while? Or what happened next?
So next we moved to Austin, Texas, and that was the plan. So I was offered to stay at a few of those practices, but we moved to Texas, so that wasn't going to happen. So I joined a private practice in Austin when I moved. There were a lot of really great things about it. We had scribes when we needed them. We had a little bit more time with patients. And it was physician owned, which is, has always been my interest in being in a physician owned practice. And that was good. I mean, it was great. I was there for about 4 or 5 years until they were bought by a big hospital system. And
Oh boy.
yeah, you know where the story's going.
Yeah. And I really want to hear it. Let's air the dirty laundry.
So I was extremely hesitant to join. Eventually, what I ended up deciding was I'll join them very part-time as a way to maintain a relationship with my patients. But it wasn't something that I wanted to do even close to full-time because I knew that just wouldn't be in line with how I want to live my life. So I spoke with the system, I spoke with the hospital about joining them. And what it came down to actually was that I wouldn't agree to the terms on their contract and they wouldn't budge on any of them. And so I actually did not sign and I left with no backup plan. And
have you,
this is,
and I apologize for the interruption, but I'm really interested in whether or not you have maintained any contact with the people that you were practicing in that group, and how has it worked out for them? And if the answer is no, I don't hear from them anymore, that's okay. But I am curious.
Yeah, I haven't kept in touch with those people. We there was one other physician who was part-time and we lost touch, but I don't know how it worked out for them, but they're still there.
But clearly things got better for you. What was next for you?
So next I had the most awesome summer ever. It was summer, so my kids were home. We went to the zoo and we did all sorts of fun things that, I always wanted to do with my kids. And I took them on little trips to middle of nowhere towns where we just hung out and played board games. And it was fun. So best summer ever. And then, yeah, it was great. And then another practice opportunity. I was approached by a recruiter. I did not plan on ever going back to medicine ever again because I had in part lost hope for the future of medicine. I didn't think that we were going in a good trajectory, and I didn't feel like there was anything I could do to change it. So, when I was approached,
can you tell me about where that came from? What? Now, clearly, you're talking about something that a lot of people in medicine are feeling nowadays, and I really like to take the opportunity when I can to get my guests to verbalize about those feelings because, as you already know, it helps to know that there's somebody that's having the same feelings because you can feel very much alone. But what was going through your mind at that point?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, I had contemplated leaving medicine for a little while before the big hospital bought the practice. Anyhow, I was burned out, even in a private practice setting. All the hoops that we have to jump through with prior authorizations and needing to fit a certain number of things into a visit in a certain amount of time. A lot of, misunderstanding. I mean, I don't think this is the major part of why I felt it, but, it's very disheartening when patients come in demanding something that, will hurt them. That was very hard because I would spend far more time and effort and energy explaining to them why they don't need what they want than just giving it to them, which, they would have had a better experience. But I don't want to cause C. diff or, any of the other things that come with, all the things that they ask for. There was certainly a fear of litigation, where I do my best to take care of people and I always have people's best interests at heart. And there was a big fear that someone was going to turn around and sue me, maybe because I made a mistake or I didn't make a mistake or I caught someone else's mistake, but because that person made the mistake, there's all sorts of litigation fears that I had. But the big part of it was just not having the time that I felt that I needed with my patients or not being able to affect change when it was needed. I still see this in a lot of physicians where either you need to not be double booking or, when we ask for a change in how we practice and that's not given to us, or we have a staff member maybe who's completely incompetent and hurting the patients, but they don't, we're not allowed to do anything about it. Or if we have a dangerous patient, we're not allowed to fire them. There's all these things that are happening that essentially take our autonomy away from us. I did not feel like medicine was going in the right direction.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Crow, founder and CEO for MD Coaches. Here on RX for Success, we interview a lot of great medical professionals on how they grew their careers, how they overcame challenges, and how they handle day-to-day work. I really hope you're getting a lot of great information. But if you're looking for an answer to a specific problem, management or administration challenge, or if you're feeling just a bit burnt out, like maybe you chose the wrong career, well, then there's a faster way to get the help you need. No, it's not counseling, it's coaching. RX for Success is produced by MD Coaches, a team of physicians who have been where you are. I know you're used to going it alone, but you don't have to. Get the support you need today. Visit us at mymdcoaches.com to schedule your complimentary consultation. Again, that's mymdcoaches.com, because you're not in this alone.
We'll get back to our interview in just a moment, but right now I want to tell you a little bit about Physician Outlook. If you haven't discovered this remarkable magazine, please do so very soon. It was created by physicians for physicians to showcase the intersection between clinical and non-clinical interests, whether it's writing, painting, cooking, politics, and dozens of other topics, Physician Outlook gives a physician perspective. It's available online and in print. It's really unique among physician lifestyle magazines. And like the Prescription for Success podcast, Physician Outlook amplifies the voice of any physician who has something to say. It also engages patients who still believe in physician-led, team-based care. And Prescription for Success listeners can get 3 months free when you enter our promo code RX for Success and select the monthly option at checkout. That's a really great deal on this stunning publication. And now let's get back to today's interview. What was your personal solution? How did you go about rescuing yourself?
Well, that there comes the best summer ever. When I essentially, I was just a stay-at-home mom, and it was so much fun. But not something that I necessarily planned to do forever. I didn't know what the solution was. I knew that I had to do something, but I didn't know what. I'm not the kind of person that can just when I see things that are like that, I can't just sit back and watch them. So it was always on my mind of how can I do something? What can I do to be a part of the change? And then another job, I feel like it fell into my lap where, this recruiter approached me and I went to interview, and I remember leaving the interview with this gut feeling of don't do this. Like, absolutely don't do this. You're just getting yourself right back into it. You finally got out of medicine after thinking about it and, burning out. And then my brain kicked in and said, well, but this is the perfect job. I'm going to have time with patients. I don't need to deal with insurance companies. Like, this job is exactly what I'm trying to, it's exactly not what I'm trying to avoid. It is why I got into medicine. But I had so much apprehension because of what I had felt before that I didn't know if I even wanted to take what looked to be incredible. So I did take this job and am so grateful that I did not listen to my fears, because it was exactly what medicine should be. I had time with patients. I didn't need to deal with insurance companies. It was great. I worked with an incredible staff. I had nurses rooming the patients. They could preempt things for me. They drew blood. We could do a lot. And it restored my faith in medicine, and it made me realize that there are so many of us that are leaving medicine because of the way we're treated or all the hoops that we have to jump through we feel like we're maybe not resilient enough, or we're just not enough, or we're not made for medicine, when really it's just the system is so broken. But there are places where we can work and enjoy ourselves and feel that we can actually practice medicine and not just practice insurance company medicine.
Mm-hmm. That's a very encouraging story.
Yeah.
So go ahead and tell us more about that. How did that work out?
It was fun. It was great. I learned that I enjoy practicing medicine again, which, gosh, how sad that I would need to learn that, So what I ended up doing was I ended up recruiting a few physicians to join this company because I loved it, and they went from burnout to enjoying medicine again. And that's kind of when I realized, like, oh, okay, so I need to be a part of helping doctors find places where they can be happy, rather than, in these large systems where they just feel like another number. And in this practice, I interviewed a lot of doctors to join, in addition to the ones that I recruited to join for me. And it was like, I feel like I could put on replay everything they said about why they're trying to leave. I just feel like a number. I have no voice. I don't feel like I can practice medicine. I don't have enough time with patients. And so, I feel like I could just hit play, and that's how every doctor that I was speaking to was feeling. And here I am, and it felt so awful to tell people, I'm sorry you didn't get the job, because I I know what they're trying to leave. But then I'll see in Facebook groups and everywhere else private practices that are struggling to find physicians. And, their questions are, but why? We have so much autonomy. We can practice medicine how we want to practice medicine. When we need to make a change, we make the change. And so, that's kind of where I was like, that's how I can make a change, is I can help to match these practices with physicians and try to kill two birds with one stone, where the physician-owned private practices that are struggling to find people can find the physicians who are burned out in the large systems and have no autonomy, and try to match them together to try to help both sides.
That's really a remarkable discovery, because I think you're exactly right. A lot of people are under the impression that no matter where you go, it's going to look always the same. So go on with the story. I'm really fascinated or I'm looking forward to finding out how you get people matched up with places where life is better.
Yeah. So I have practice. So the practices I work with, I vet them. Life is better when you find the right place for you, right? So the right place for me is not going to be the right place for my best friend who's also a family medicine physician, because what's important to us is different. So a lot of what I do is really, really get to know the practices that I work with, and try to find them a physician that matches their value system and their goals. And same thing for the physician. If I get to know a physician and what's important to them, then I try to match them with a practice that matches that as well.
So how do these practices find you?
That's a good question. I think it's
by the
mostly
way, let's go ahead and name it. What is this company called that does this?
It's called Happy Day Health.
Yeah, I like that part.
Thank you.
So how do they find you?
So my website is www.happydayhealth.co, and there's a contact form on there where it goes straight to my email. That's typically where people go to contact me. I believe that most people find me by word of mouth. So I've been extremely fortunate as far as finding practices finding me. I've loved most of them, and I pretty much just work with practices where I really feel like they have their physician's best interest at heart.
So you have both physicians seeking employment calling you, and you have practices with opportunities calling you, and I'm really, really interested in finding out more about how you vet the practice opportunities that you might recruit for. How do you find out if they're the real thing or if they're a bunch of crooks?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a little bit of I would say a little bit of a leap of faith. It's a lot of what they say generally kind of steers me to understanding who they are, and it's a lot of what they don't say. So, a lot of it is when I speak with practices, they'll say things like, here's an example. I don't know how to explain it without giving examples. One of the practices I'm working with is this wonderful family physician. And she, she's telling me what she's looking for and all that. And she says, when I left residency, I had young kids at home and I was allowed to work after I dropped them off until before I picked them up. And what I would love to do is to be able to pay that forwards and find a physician who also would like to work mom hours, because you can't find that anywhere else. And so it's a little bit of those types of things where they tell me, or I have another practice that is, it has no turnover even in its medical assistants, is how wonderful a place to work it is. But she tells me stories about, we take care of each other. We all take care of each other. And, if I've noticed that one of my medical assistants is really busy, then I help her. And if she notices that I've been so busy that I haven't eaten all day, she makes me a sandwich and brings it to me and makes me sit down and eat a sandwich between patients. So, so a lot of it is, these stories about what they tell me about their practice, or, they're able to say, one practice it was after COVID-19 pandemic had been out for a little while, and she was telling me how she was trying to make sure that her physicians were okay. And just recently she says, and I decided to buy them a 12-week course in mindfulness meditation because I feel like they would just benefit from it. Who wouldn't benefit from learning meditation? So it's, the practices are just, they really have their best interests at heart.
And do I understand this correctly? You actually have practices contact you and tell you that that they have opportunities for
Yes.
physicians, and after a conversation, you just say, I don't really think I'm right for you. Do you do that?
I do. Yeah.
Wow. You got to be one in a gazillion. And how about the physicians that come to you to help them replacement? Do you to find placement? Do you ever turn any of them down, or are you pretty much engaged with everybody that calls?
It depends. There's a job for everyone. I know what my practices are looking for, so they may not be the right fit for that practice, but there may be something else. So a lot of physicians don't actually want private practice. So my practices that I work with are all physician-owned small practices. But if a physician contacts me wanting a hospital-employed position, because sometimes they do, or academics, I do have access to those jobs. I joined a very large network of healthcare recruiters where we can share a little bit. So if I have an applicant or a physician that's interested in, medical directorship, then I can look, among their network and see if there's something that works better for them there. So my jobs are not always right for every physician, but if I know what they're looking for, I can help them find it.
Yeah. And you started this, if I'm doing my arithmetic correctly, it's only about 11 months that Happy Day Health has been underway. Am I correct about that?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
And it really has been very successful, it sounds like.
It's really cool. I think I've been very successful in being able to affect change in helping physicians to see, in part, what they're worth. And I don't mean financially. I mean financially too, I guess. But what is the worth of their time with their families and all of that? I started a YouTube channel a few weeks ago talking about this, and
I've seen your YouTube channel.
Thank you.
It's very engaging.
Thank you. And what I try to do is just help physicians see all the things in life other than the burnout that we're so used to. And it's pretty cool. Actually, I was speaking with a physician last week who explained to me starting salary versus ending salary, which is a way I talk about it on the YouTube channel. And I said to her, that's crazy. I've never heard anyone else explain it to me this way. I'm the only person I know that thinks this. And her response was, oh, no, I know. This is because I watched your video and it made sense to me. And that's now how I think. So it's cool. Like, I really feel like, I value success in like how I'm able to make a difference and make a change. And I think, I'm starting to see those differences, and it's really, really cool.
So what do you envision as the end game? This is a unique service that you offer, and it sounds like your clientele is growing. Do you anticipate growing it to the point that you'll have to add additional physicians to do to do precisely the kind of interviewing of clients and applicants? How do you spread this good thing around? Is it to make yours bigger, or is it to encourage other potential physician recruiters to do a similar sort of thing? How do you see the future?
That's a very big question. I see a lot of things in the future.
But you're clearly the expert. Nobody else is doing this, as far as I can tell.
I see a lot of things. So the one as far as growth of my company, if there is a need, that I would be ecstatic. My biggest barrier to growth is physicians are not open to moving even when we're miserable. My hope is that we are able to be open-minded to that. And there's more, right now there's more jobs than there are candidates. My hope is that once physicians kind of wake up and realize like, oh my gosh, like there is more to life than just churning through the patients every 5, 10, 15 minutes, rather than, all the other things that come with medicine. My hope is that I can grow this because there are enough of us that are in private practice or own our own thing or feel empowered enough to make a big change. And so my hope is to grow it mostly because to me, that kind of indicates that there's a good change happening and there's a good movement happening. The other ways
Well, I
that I
hope you
see
can
this,
do it too. It's one of my great complaints, and people hear me whining about it all the time, is that physicians don't work for patients anymore. They work for the hospital, or they work for some gigantic group or whatever. And it sounds like you've created a way to really reconnect physicians with what they probably got into the field of medicine for. And we really, really, really do need more of that. And I apologize for the interruption. I want you to go ahead with your thought if you can remember it.
No, that's okay. And I'll expand on that because I completely agree with you. And my hope as well, this is one of the end game things or long-term things that I'd like to see happen, is I would love the hospitals to attract their physicians. Right now, they're attracting them with, shiny objects of high salary and lots of PTO and all those things. I'd love them to attract and retain their physicians because of how well they're treated. And so, if my Happy Day Health becomes obsolete because doctors are so happy to be hospital employed, that's still a win in my eyes, because that's what I'm hoping for. And I think that if enough of us are in private practice and the hospitals have a hard time recruiting physicians because of this, they will have to change their tune. Or because they keep losing physicians, they'll have to. I mean, they won't have a choice. So that's one of my end games. I have a lot of other, hopes. There's one of the other issues with employment is the high turnover rate. So I have an idea of how I'd like to help with that. But I really need to build out one thing at a time. So,
yeah. And I think you're exactly right about all of that, that you've mentioned. And the difficulty that I see with hospitals is that, for the most part, they are such large organizations. A lot of hospitals are now a part of a much bigger group, and that means that they are beholden to investors. And the people that run those organizations, by their very nature, are people who look first at their balance sheet before they look at the satisfaction of their employees. Now, you and I understand that if you have happy employees, you'll have a really popular hospital. But I don't know how we get that message across to the CEO types. Have you got any thoughts on that?
I think they're starting to wake up. There was a study done, I believe it came out around maybe August or September of last year, and it was looking at burnout in different settings. And one of the interesting things that it did was it asked the administrators if their physicians were burned out, and it asked their physicians if they were burned out. And I think about 30% of hospital administrators said, yes, we think that there's some burnout, whereas something like 80% of physicians saw that. So I think a part of it is education. I think it's very unfortunate that physicians can no longer own hospitals because we're the ones that get into this because we care, and not with a purely financial reason. I think it would be great if physicians can own hospitals again because, we're the backbone of healthcare. I do think, there's physician wellness committees coming up and all of that. And I think the more of us that are vocal about it, the better. I know I was speaking with someone earlier today about, being labeled as a disruptive physician for trying to make change. Actually, I spoke to two people today, the troublemakers for trying to take care of our patients when our clinics are flooded, or, we get reprimanded for asking to fire a patient that's dangerous, or, all these silly things, or, when we speak up against them, we get labeled as disruptive or fired or replaced. So the solution, I think, has to be that enough of us are willing to walk away. I don't know what other solution there is other than us banging our heads against the wall, telling them we're burned out, we're burned out, we're burned out. I think people have to just be willing to put their money where their mouth is and get up and leave the systems that are abusing them.
Well, I think, and I don't want to make me the focus of the show, but I am interested in your opinion on this. I think the model actually already exists. You can have excellence in healthcare. You can have people in charge who understand what excellent healthcare looks like. And the only place you have to look is at places like Mayo Clinic and the Ochsner Clinic and the Leahy Clinic and institutions of that sort who keep their physicians heavily involved in the decision making that goes into the running of the organizations. The problem that I see is there's just not enough of that, and if more people are doing what you're doing and pointing out to physicians that they can actually step in and be part of the solution, I think we might have a chance at success. Would you agree with that?
100%. 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. The organizations, and this is a part of why private practice tends to have lower burnout rates. It's because the doctors have a say. And, I think, there's multiple studies that have come out showing physician coaching helps. And then, of course, it affects the bottom line as well, which is what they care about. But I agree. I think, the organizations that involve their physicians tend to be more successful financially as well, because they don't have to keep paying for turnover. The doctors are dying to tell you what they need. Just listen, just listen to their doctors. And I understand the caveat that doctors have no business training and don't understand that we need to make money in order to be able to hire you. But so we're smart people, teach us about that. And if we need longer visits, we need longer visits, So I think the big thing is just listen. The doctors will tell you what we need.
I think there is no better word to close the conversation than listen, Lara. And I thank you very much for sharing your time with us today. It's been great hearing your story. But what I'm going to do now is take the opportunity to turn the program over entirely to you. And we're going to do what we're all about. I'm going to close my mic, and Dr. Lara Hochman is going to share with us her personal prescriptions for success.
All right. I have 3 prescriptions for personal success. Prescription number 1, self-awareness. 1 tab PO Q6 months. Number 90 with unlimited refills. So for self-awareness, I think it is super important to put a reminder on your calendar so that you don't forget, just to check in with yourself. So we get so caught up in our daily lives that we don't actually realize what's going on with ourselves. And we just get so caught up in the rat race that we may not notice that maybe we're starting to burn out. Maybe we're not. Maybe we don't have enough time with our spouse or our kids or our parents or our friends. There's so many things that we put aside for so many reasons. And a big part of that, as physicians, we put it aside for our patients. And in part, we neglect ourselves. So what I recommend to a lot of the candidates and the physicians that I speak to is every 6 months, put it on your calendar to just sit down for an hour and check in with yourself. How are things going for you? How would you like your life to be different? What can you change realistically? What can you change maybe in the future? So maybe it's not realistic now, but what would you like to be different and how can you get there? And a lot of this comes up with, burnout in practices or practicing maybe in a way that you don't want to be practicing or living the life that you do or don't want to be living. So check in with yourself every 6 months, set it on the calendar, don't forget, and don't put it off when you see it on the calendar. Prescription number 2 is self-care. Take 1 tab, PO daily, number 90 with unlimited refills. So this goes off of prescription number 1, which is self-awareness. It is so important to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of our families and our patients and our friends. So make sure you do something every day for yourself, whether that's exercise, get a good night's sleep, meditate, have a hobby. Maybe your hobby is something that is exercise, so awesome, then that's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. But really make sure to take care of yourself. It's like, we say put your oxygen mask on before you put on your child's oxygen mask. If you take care of yourself, you'll be able to be more present for your family, more present for your patients, and just a happier person. And then my 3rd prescription for success is bravery. 1 tab, PO daily, PRN. Number 90 with unlimited refills. In life and in our careers, there are going to be so many things that scare us, whether that's standing up for ourselves, standing up for our patients, standing up for our families. And those scary things shouldn't hold us back. And what I believe true bravery to be is when there's something that scares you, but you know it's something that's right or that you should do, and you do it anyway. You do it scared. So absolutely embrace bravery if it means being labeled a disruptive physician because of something that needs to happen for your safety or your patient safety or your staff. Be brave. Step out of your comfort zone, because in your comfort zone is where a lot of what we've gotten ourselves into has happened, and we need to step out of our comfort zone and be brave and face our fears to affect real change for ourselves, our patients, our families, and the lives of everyone around us. And those are my 3 prescriptions for success.
You are wise beyond your years, and I really appreciate you sharing your wisdom with us today. It's been a lot of fun talking with you. Before we go, I want to give you an opportunity to tell our audience where you can be found and how you can be contacted.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would really, really appreciate if anyone reaches out to me. I would really, really love to speak with you. My website is www.happydayhealth.co. It is not .com. So on there's a contact form. You can fill it out and I will get back to you. It typically takes me just a few days, but I will definitely get back to you. You can find me on LinkedIn. I live on LinkedIn. So I'm Lara Hochman, MD on LinkedIn. And you can just reach out, friend me, reach out to me, or it's called connect with me there. I have a YouTube channel called Happy Day Health by Lara Hochman, MD. Please go check it out. Subscribe, like anything that you see, and share it with anyone that you think may be helpful. But I'm on everything. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, and please do contact me. I'd love to hear from you.
Well, I think a lot of people probably will, Laura, and they'll be glad they did. And by the way, I really do like your YouTube channel. It's very entertaining and very informative. And once again, thank you so much for being here. It has been a great pleasure having you on Prescription for Success. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'd really appreciate a review from you, and a 5-star rating helps give our podcast much more visibility and reach many more listeners. Exclusive content is available on our Patreon page, including membership-only material like personal rapid-fire Q&A sessions with our guests. To be sure you never miss an episode, visit our website, at rxforsuccesspodcast.com to subscribe. And while you're there, learn how to get CME credit from CMify just by listening. Special thanks to Ryan Jones, who created and performs our theme music. And remember, be sure to fill your prescription for success with my next episode.